The Endurance E-Racing World Championship Le Mans 24 Hours is brought to you by ESR Esports Network, Fleet Gaming, Sim Lab, Husingfeld, Simplexity, Acetech, and AMD Ryzen Radio.
Welcome back, ladies are gentlemen. Well, I do not know where I'm going with that introduction, but welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the GTR 24H for the Endurance E-Racing World Championships here at Le Mans, the final round of the season. And Jurie Thurman is still DNF. He's still not been able to rejoin. And he is most definitely going to drop behind Idos Motorsport and Tom Lamberts of Team Rookie Monsters. But we're still keeping an eye on Marco Antonio Rodriguez, who is still within a second of ProSim. And Sultan Abdurakhmanov has gained 1.4 seconds on that last lap to Michi Hoyer. The gap is now under 6 seconds. And not too far away from me, I can see Mr. Alex Skinner. He's having a little old sleep. And he might actually miss his team taking the lead of the LMP2 class. What do you think, guys? Do we need to wake him up before that happens so he can witness the move in all its glory? You can let me know using the hashtag GTR24H. Marco Antonio Rodriguez, though, now really falling back from ProSim. He lost 6/10 on that last lap, and I think he's lost a little bit more in this opening sector. Yeah, another 6/10. The gap is now 2.5 seconds. So, let's ride on board with the man on the mission, Mr. Sultan Abdurakhmanov, who has closed in 40 seconds or so to Michi Hoyer. It's been an absolutely fantastic few hours of driving from the Idos Motorsports man. And you can see at the end of the Mulsanne chicane, that is the LMP2 car of Michi Hoyer. Well, at least one of those two are. And Jurie Thurman is now about to get passed by the ID Simsport car, or at least in a few seconds' time. Or maybe a few minutes, I mean. Look at the amount of commitment from Sultan Abdurakhmanov into the Mulsanne hairpin. In fact, he's lost about 1.5 tenths over the first two sectors, but still sector 3 to go. Danny Sanchez has also taken over for the 97 Elite Simsport Racing team. He's a fair bit behind Mark Velt, who has been able to get back underway after whatever incident happened. We still don't know really what happened to Mark Velt in that Scuderia Basilia car. We had actually just spoken to Andy Tucker. Do you think you can catch up to Mark Velt and Scuderia Basilia? And he said, well, you never know what happens. And look what happens 5 laps later. I call hacks right there, and maybe some DDoSing as well. Well, obviously, I'm sure E.T. and Brett didn't do that. I am just joking. Marco Antonio Rodriguez, 2.3 seconds behind ProSim. Where are our other battles? Oh yes, the GTE was interesting, wasn't it? Jordi San Andres 23 seconds behind, still closing in by a second a lap onto Adam Baldwin. David Greco 157 seconds behind Jordi San Andres and gaining 1 second a lap on Jordi himself. The gap was about 190 seconds to the lead from Adam Baldwin to David Greco. Now it's 180 seconds as into the pit comes Sultan Abdurakhmanov. Will he actually be able to find the undercut here, as Mark Velt has actually gone purple in the middle sector? He is really pushing right now, but he is 5 laps behind Viaducton, which is really not what where he wanted to be. So it is time to compare sector times between Michi Hoyer and Sultan Abdurakhmanov. Remember, he needs to gain about 6 seconds. Does the Idos Motorsport driver. And as I say that, I think Marco Antonio Rodriguez is actually closing back up to the ProSim cars. They make their way down into the Dunlop chicane. And I think if we can get the weather forecast up, we will be able to see that there is absolutely no chance of rain now, because that rain cloud has completely passed us by. And there you go. You can see the Le Mans circuit. The rain is gone. And the rain cloud will just pass over to the northeast of us. Pardon me, the northwest of us. Blue flag being shown for IDSim Sport right now. Chewy Toman has dropped behind IDSim Sport. And he's going to drop behind Tom Lamberts as well. Tom Lamberts is in the pits right now. And I think it's Mantis Wreckers who will be jumping in for Team Rookie Monsters. Last lap though, Jordi San Andres gained 1.7 seconds on Adam Baldwin. David Greco was able to find almost 3 seconds on Adam Baldwin. So those top three slowly starting to Constantina together. What about DIS? 356.8 last time round. Nightmare was second in the GT3 class at 359.5. But what about Nico Barkley? A 58.0. Not a quick lap for Nico. And he didn't come into the pits on that lap, so it's just a slow lap from him. Maybe caught some back markers at the wrong point in time. Either way, though, he's still gone 3 seconds a lap, but quicker than Alvaro Incausti. And 1.5 seconds quicker than Nightmare. There's still a chance for the number 77 One Acco Racing team. Alvaro Incausti's just done a 94.8. Nico Barkley's done a 93.3. And I actually want to do something. I want to ride on board with Nico Barkley and then ride on board with Alvaro Incausti. Okay, so Nico Barkley's still a way off from unlapping himself against Alvaro, but he is closing in slowly but surely. Richie Hoyer still out. However, Enzo Fazzi has gone out for Idos Motorsport. Now, that might just be one stint too early for Idos Motorsport to pull Aishat Sultan Abdurrahmanov into the pits. One more stint, and I reckon Abdurrahmanov would have been able to find a way past into the lead of the LMP2 class. But let's see what Enzo Fazzi can pull out, because he's going to be one stint fresher than Michi Hoyer, in the sense that he might just be feeling a little bit uneasy with the car. I don't think he's been out yet for Idos Motorsport, although we're halfway through the race, so probably have seen two drivers, I think, which was just Aishat Sultan Abdurrahmanov and I think it was Luca D'Amelio. Maybe we saw Peter Schultz as well, but I think Enzo Fazzi will be out now, and then probably Alistair Long. And Jerry Toman has dropped pretty much right down to the back of the LMP2 grid.
Okay.
Did I just hear you and O'Leary?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you. And how are you doing?
Well, thanks for that. Yeah, I'm doing alright. I've just woken up from a very short nap, and I'm ready now for the night shift, which has begun a little bit early because Alex has passed out on a sofa somewhere, so I've decided to come up and help you for 45 minutes or so. Yeah, I'll be joined by Ossian a little bit later on, and Alex will come in for a couple of hours throughout the night as well, and then get back for the end of the race with you again, Yousuf. So yeah, I've just jumping in for about 45 minutes ahead of time, just because why not, really? I'm awake, why not?
Well, they don't call it the Ewan Endurance Racing Championship for nothing, do they?
You do. You do, by accident, but yeah, you weren't even that tired when you said that. I can't believe it, but anyway.
It was fully intentional.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Yeah, I see things have completely changed since I was last here, which is, I guess, a little bit annoying for me because I've not seen what's all got on, but also good for the race. So, what on earth happened to, in GT3, what on earth happened to Glam Racing, because they were winning in their Aston Martin when I left, and now they're not winning anymore, so what happened to them?
I'm not really sure. I thought it happened at the end of your thing, because I looked and Glam Racing were doing well. I think they were stopped at one point, and they had to dive into the pits. Right now we've also got in that GT3 class Nico Barkley, after the disaster that struck One Acca Racing. He's climbing up the order. He's lapping really quickly as well, but he's just really far behind Alvaro Incas. He's been lapping about 5 seconds a lap quicker every lap, just chipping away at the advantage that the number 23 car has at the moment.
Yeah, he's still 4 laps down on the overall leader, though. He's 4th in the class, but as you say, a long way behind in Chelsea right now. And if you were to be able to get on the podium with that One Acca team, then it would be a great feat, to be honest, for them. I think they'll take it as a victory. They wouldn't have taken it as a victory at the start of the race, but now I think they definitely will. After all of the trials and tribulations they had, I think they lost 5 laps to the overall leaders in the incident they had earlier on with some connection problems and whatever. Yeah, they've fought back well. They're now 4 laps down, but still 12 hours to go, which is not too bad at all, actually.
No, it is not, but I feel like the biggest news has been in the LMP2 class, because Team Rookie Monsters, who had done so well after starting at the back of the grid, climbing up to, at one point, first before they had made their pit stop, they then had disaster struck when I'm just trying to remember who it was. Actually, who was it for Team Rookie Monsters? It was,
Beavis, was it?
Matt Beavis. Yes, there you go. Matt Beavis had his GPU started playing up, and well, he pulled over, got that fixed. He then had to serve a penalty, and then there was another penalty for him having a hardware issue, and as a result they've lost about 10 laps or something ridiculous. So they have not had a good race. They've had so many issues really before them, but they're making the most of a bad situation, and they are closing in onto IDSim Sport and Roy de Monk, who, don't forget, these 3 are your 3 championship leaders in the class. And then of course you've also got well, it's Enzo Fazzi at the moment, but before it wasn't Enzo Fazzi, it was the Idos Motorsport's driver of Aishat Sultan Abdurrahmanov, who had closed in, I think it was a 40-second gap, all the way down to about 5 seconds before pitting about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, can't say I've ever heard of him actually in any really league that I've ever seen on R Factor 2, but really fast driver, able to clear in Michi Hoyer, who is a very good driver as well. Of course, he's won races in the FSR World Championship now, which is very competitive indeed, beating out guys like Juraj Simoncic, who he's also been driving that car. But now after that pit stop cycle, it looks like Hoyer has come out a whopping 1 minute 15 ahead of Enzo Fazzi. I'm not entirely sure how that's happened, but Idos Motorsport have lost an awful lot of time in that pit stop, over 1 minute.
Yeah, and Enzo Fazzi having a 5 minute 55 on the outlap, so something has definitely happened to Idos Motorsport, and I'm not entirely sure what it is. Maybe, I mean, is it damage? Will they come into the pits at the end of this lap? Who knows, but all of that hard work just down the drain in an instant, you know. Almost 2 hours of hard work by Aishat, closing down that gap, and now, well, whatever gap was there before is now pretty much doubled, maybe even tripled.
Yeah, it has, and that work is just going to have to happen all over again. Just watch the ID Motorsport car, Idos Motorsport car, should I say, go through the forward chicane. They're not going into the pit lane, so clearly there's been no damage. It's just a really long stop on that last occasion. No idea why, but they have done, and that it has cost them an awful lot of time. Although they are pretty safe to the car in behind them, which is now the Drillers car, which just shows you how much this race has changed around and turned up on its head. Drillers were right up towards the front in the first few hours. They fell away with an incident a couple of hours in, and then they came back to the fore. They're now in 3rd place, which is not bad from them at all, but still they're coming under a bit of pressure now from Fair Racing Team. They got 11 seconds at the moment, so there are still battles going on. They're mainly in LMP2 though, as we've seen throughout most of the race actually.
Yeah, and I'm just keeping an eye still on those lap times that Nico Barkley's pumping out. 3 seconds quicker than Alvaro Incausti, a little bit less than what we have been seeing from him over the past laps. So Nico Barkley, I'm sure he'll be wanting to up the pace a bit. Also, Jordi San Andres, he is still lapping faster than Adam Baldwin, almost a second on that last lap. The gap now just 19.6 seconds between the pair of them.
Yeah, it's all very close there as well. There's a lot of positional changes about to happen in terms of GTEs passing GT3s. I've noticed they're making their way up the order. PINSIM Sport, the 177, about to make their way past the DSR Nightmare car, which is about 2 minutes off the lead at the moment, which is now back in the hands of DIS SR Lab after their huge accident they had on the Mulsanne Straight as sun was setting earlier on in the day. They're now back into the lead of the race and back into control of this championship, which we can't forget is still going around. Where's the 999 Rookie Monsters car in terms of trying to...
Oh, they dropped really far down the order.
What happened to them? They're ninth now. What happened to them?
It was a Team Rookie Monsters curse, quite literally. Something always happens to Team Rookie Monsters, it seems. And I think they were also stopped out on track. They had to rejoin the serve and got the old 3-lap penalty for it as well.
You notice now as well, Musto GD Sports in GT3, Daniele Primavera is back into that car for what I believe is the first stint since he had that huge accident.
Yes.
In the very first hours of the race. He's now into 6th place in class again after being 6 laps off the lead earlier on, but they never gave up at Musto, and they're clawing their way back up the order. It's been so topsy-turvy in the last few hours. Just as night has fell, everybody's fallen to pieces, it seems.
Yeah, and 2 seconds a lap is the amount that Daniele Primavera is closing in onto the Danish Racing League Ferrari, but he is 133 seconds behind. It's not impossible, but it is doable. And remember back when Daniele Primavera was battling with the DIS SR Lab car for second place, well, both cars have had their issues, but it's been slightly worse for Musto than it has for DIS.
Yeah, ever so slightly, and that's why they're so far down the order. The other Musto car, by the way, the LMP2 at Musto, Daniele Vella was last driving it, but it's in the pit lane at the moment, and I don't know if it's out of the race, but I just wonder what happened to them as well, because it looks like we might have had a retirement in that car there, the number 90.
Yeah, and the number 90 of Daniele Vella has been out for a very long time. There's a reason he's 34 laps behind Juri Toman, who is pretty much out of the race as well. So a couple of casualties in the LMP2 class, and it's still Enzo Fazzi though is really closing in onto Michi Hoyer, I think, because the gap is 74 seconds, and I think it was about 77 seconds on the last lap.
Yeah, indeed. As the leader in GT3 comes in, the Per B gets another. The Per B cars team gets another place, and that's all the positional change that's going on down there. And I was surprised that the gaps are not really. You're actually just extending between Satellite and ProSim in LMP2 for 5th in their class. And that's 5 seconds, nearly 6 seconds at the moment, but ProSim looked to be just a little bit slower at the moment. It really has turned on its head, isn't it, in the last few hours, hasn't it, really? Because the order is so different to what it was not only a few hours ago, and now there's laps between cars where I wasn't quite expecting, but one thing that's been constant, actually, the Drillers Esports number 10 has been leading the race pretty much, and also since lap 1, because Ibrahim Khan did a great job early on in that car, in the Seawolf car, but pretty much it's been a one-way street for them, it's been very good to see for them. They've done a great job of Drillers, but they've also not had too much pressure from Seawolf. I don't know if they've had any issues, Seawolf, but I think it's just been their pace that they're now that amount of time behind. It's just that's the kind of deficit they're fighting against, I'm afraid, at this point.
Yeah, and I remember when I handed over to yourself and Cameron, I remember Ibrahim Khan still leading the race, and at the moment Ibrahim Khan still putting in some good lap times. He's gained 2 seconds on is now Jeroen Aquicol in the number 10 car, 2 seconds in that middle sector, and we haven't seen Jeroen at all. All we have seen so far is in that number 10 car Henry Sinek and a little bit of Timotej Andonovski. Actually, we have seen Martin Hemmingsen as well. So it was just Jeroen that we had not yet seen.
I believe he was actually in here a little bit earlier on, Quickle.
Oh, was he?
He was in during our stint, yeah. So they're cycling through their drivers pretty nicely at the moment, Drillers, actually. They've got a nice system going on, which starts with, I'm presuming this is continued while I was away. Sinek starting the race, then Hemmingsen, then Quickle, and then Andonovski. And that's the kind of cycle they're going through, double stinting their drivers, I think. Maybe even triple stinting them through the night, because obviously they want to buy themselves just a little bit of time. And so somebody in chat confirming that Quickle did drive earlier. They're kind of cycling through their driver thingy at the moment, the driver rotation, doing it nice and symmetrical, which is very nice for us actually, because it means we can keep on top of things a lot easier, and we know that Andonovski is going to get into that car before long. I say before long, it's probably going to be a couple of hours, but still we know who's going to get in that car next, and that is very helpful for us who are not, or for me in particular, who's not following the race particularly closely in the last few hours. We can still pick it up pretty easily, but they've got a real pace about them at the moment. On the last calculation, we've just passed over half distance in this race, less than 12 hours to go now, but by that time, Quickle and the Drillers Esports team has racked up 206 laps by the end of that. That gives them a target of 412 laps if it stays dry throughout the race, and that would only be one lap away from the distance record here in GTR 24H, which was set back in 2018, 413 laps. So they are really going at almost record-breaking speed at the moment.
Yeah, it's a very, very good performance right now from the number 10 car of PINSIM Drillers Esports. We'll have to see whether they can break that record. I'm just looking a little bit down. I was having a good old look at Daniela Primavera. We were riding on board with him. But if we look slightly up the order, and in another class entirely, in the GTE class, at the moment, David Greco is absolutely flying. He gained 6/10 on the leading GTE cars in that middle sector. He's 58 seconds behind Jordi Sant Andres, but he does have a pit stop to make. So at the moment, David Greco running very low on fuel.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to them either, because they were leading quite comprehensively earlier on. Don't know if they had an accident or anything like that, but they're certainly off cycle, and I think that they're in a better fuel place than those two in front, Deuces and World of Sim Racing. I think they're a little bit marginal. They might have to make a splash as things stand of fuel, and I don't think Musto are going to actually have to take that. So in terms of the fuel, they are in a good place, but Musto have obviously got a big deficit to catch up back to the lead where they were a few hours ago.
Yeah, Jordi Sant Andres has just gone green in the final sector. 19.1 seconds behind Adam Baldwin. He's gone 4/10 slower than the number 74 Deuces Motorsport Club. But what can David Greco pull out? He should be coming across the line in about half a minute. Well, actually, in not too long. He's got the purple car, the Glam Racing car up ahead. And go down the inside, heading into the Ford chicanes. And I reckon if we're seeing those 523s come through from Adam Baldwin and Jordi Sant Andres, I'm going to guess it's going to be another 51 for David Greco. Let's see. Across the line, and it is a 52.8. Never mind, I'm completely wrong. It's only a second quicker.
It's still a good lap time though, and it's the fastest of anybody on that last lap around in the GTE category. Easily the fastest lap time on that particular lap, mainly because Deuces and Wood of Sim Racing actually made a pit stop then, and so their lap times are not representative in the slightest, but they are separated by just 17 seconds, and what a great battle it has been between those two great sim racing teams so far. They have been really fantastic. It's just such a shame to see Satellite Racing so far down the order now. I presume they had an incident along the way at some point, because they are now 9th in class, last in the GTE category. Tom Kapusta is driving, but he's making his way through the GT3 cars right now. It's a real shame to see them so far back after such a great run earlier on in this race.
Yeah, it was such a good start as well for the 65 Satellite Racing car. Don't forget, I believe they were our pole sitters as well. Either way, they were in that big battle for the lead of the GTE class, and then disaster really just struck for them with issues, and now they find themselves 8 laps off the lead and really not where they want to be at all.
No, it isn't, and that's the place they find themselves in. Hopefully they'll be able to get up the order just a little bit later on, but at the moment the closest battle seems to be, well, I'll say the closest gap on the circuit is not actually between 2 cars in the same category, so we'll gloss over those kind of battles, like the one between Kapustin and Primavera, or up the order between Sanchez and Bogdanov. They are not representative gaps, but the representative gaps come from Satellite Racing and ProSim at the moment. 5th place in the LMP2 category, 11th place overall, and these two are just over 4 seconds apart. The gap is toing and froing just a little bit, but it looks like Marco Antonio Rodriguez is just holding the ProSim car at arm's length at the moment. It's not a battle that's actually on right now, but it is certainly starting to bubble up ever so slightly.
Something else I want to mention as well is Ibrahim Khan is pumping out some quick laps, 2 seconds a lap faster than the number 10 of PINSIM Drillers Esports, and he's now within 1 lap of Jeroen, or well, he's only 1 lap down, I should say. So Ibrahim Khan putting out some good laps and is closing in slowly.
Yeah, he is 1.5 seconds faster, more than Jeroen Kwikel, and he's unlapped himself, because when he started this stint he was 2 laps down on Jeroen Kwikel. Now he is under 1 lap down. It is very close to being 2 laps down, by the way, but he is still making inroads, and that's pretty clear to see at the moment, as both 5th and 6th in LMP2 come into the pit lane. That's a pit stop battle now, as they're on lap 200 in this race, making their 20th pit stop already. It's an awful lot of pit stops you have to make in LMP2. Those fuel tanks, only 75 litres. They don't last very long at all, and that means you're making an awful lot of pit stops in that category.
Yeah, you are making a lot of pit stops in the LMP2 category, but while the fuel may not last long, something else that doesn't last long are the ad breaks here at GTR 24H, which we will be going to right now.
The Endurance E-Racing World Championship Le Mans 24 Hours is brought to you by ESR Esports Network, Fleet Gaming, Sim Lab, Husingfeld, Simplexity, Aston, and AMD Ryzen Radio.
Do you hate watching laggy streams of tournaments on 13-inch screens?
Oh my god!
Of course you do. But you don't have to worry about that anymore.
He has a jump, son!
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. Their 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40 by 40mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8 built from 80 by 40mm profiles, and the high-tier V12 built from 160 by 40mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the GTR 24H for round 4 and the final round of the Endurance E-Racing World Championship. I'm still Yousuf Bin-Suhayl, still joined by Ewan O'Leary as we get well into the night here at Le Mans.
Yeah, we are indeed, and yeah, it's well and truly darkness at the moment. Still 11 and a half hours to go, a long way for these drivers now, but it's going to be a very exciting end to this race, I'm sure about that. We've got ProSim and Satellite battling it out, I believe, at the moment, and I think they are going to be doing so in a few moments' time. David Nichols has just got into the Satellite car, the 64, and that means that he's a little bit fresh, but not quite accustomed to these conditions, unlike whoever's driving that ProSim car, who is a lot faster than Nichols at the moment. And so I really think we are going to see a great nighttime battle between these two now.
Well, you mentioned that, but last time around the ProSim driver went quicker, and also we don't know who is driving the ProSim car, so they may have made a driver change as well, and that is something to consider. The gap, though, between Idos Motorsport and Tom Lambert in the Team Rookie Monsters car is 27 seconds, and it has been dropping, and it is getting closer and closer, so that might be the next battle that we do have to keep our eyes on.
It's very close now as they come out of Corvette and towards the Ford chicanes, just making that little short chicane before they get into the real ones, the sharper ones. And yeah, Nichols in front definitely doesn't look as comfortable as the ProSim car now. They bounce across those curbs and now get their way onto the main straight again to begin another lap. 202 laps completed, still probably about 180, 190 to go. A long way left for these drivers now, but nothing doing down into the Dunlop chicane as a little bit wide goes Nichols, and now a great run by the ProSim car. They're going to run side by side, are they? Down to the S's, flash of the lights by the Satellite car, but that's not going to hinder the ProSim car at all. The 007 is now through into 5th place in class.
And I just want to mention as well, David Nichols may have just shot himself in the foot, because that flash of lights, we talked about that, Team Rookie Monsters did that, and they got themselves a 30-second stop-go penalty for flashing your lights at another driver to, well, I believe in the rules it says to put them off. So just to clarify, the rules state that if you flash your lights at another car and you are battling them for position, that is not allowed. If it is someone that you're lapping, you are allowed to do that to alert them to the fact that, you know, you are approaching, but you are not allowed to do it to a car you are battling with. So well, we'll see if that does get reported or not, and whether that does come through. But that might be a bit of a mistake from David Nichols there.
Yeah, possibly that could be an issue for him if he gets a drive-through, or even a stop-go, like we mentioned earlier with Rookie Monsters. Although saying that, he's not going to lose any position from it, because Drive Game Seat are 2 laps behind him at the moment. Alessandro Apolloni is driving that car at the moment, but they've had some real issues earlier on in this race, and that means despite the fact they are only 1 position apart, they are a whole 2 laps apart, which is a pretty big margin at this point in the race.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye again still on Nico Barkley and Daniela Primavera. Nico Barkley doing a 56.6, Daniela Primavera on a 57.5, and the likes of Alvaro Incausti and the 777 Nightmare car doing, well, we can't really tell with Nightmare because they did come into the pits, but Alvaro Incausti doing a 4-minute dead. So Nico Barkley gaining 4 seconds on that last lap. The gap is slowly but surely dwindling.
It is, yeah, and it's going to take a lot of dwindling, though, for it to actually increase into an actual margin we can measure it, because DGTL are still a lap behind in Chelsea in the Sim Racing Motorsport car at the moment, and so when he gets past them and unlaps himself and then gets past them again, then we'll really get a view as to what the actual gap is. But you've got to say it's probably maybe up towards 7 minutes at the moment. If you think 1.5 minutes to the GGTL car, which has got a lap and 3/4 nearly to catch up to in Chelsea, so that gap is really big, and it's going to take issues, I think, for Wanako to get onto the podium. However, we've seen issues so far in this race, and that is certainly not impossible by any stretch of the imagination.
And we're also seeing as well a bit of a battle forming in the LMP2 class, because Roy de Monk is closing in onto Kashif Iftikhar. And don't forget, Roy de Monk in that number 11 One Move Esports car, and any point that they can get could be crucial in holding on to that third place in the championship. Just 9 seconds separating Roy de Monk and Kashif Iftikhar in that 337 Team Rookie Monsters car.
Roy de Monk is finally awake for his second half of the stint, and he's staying awake at the moment because if you remember from over 13 hours ago now, it's an awful long time ago, but he overslept again for the second round this season, for the second EEWC round this season. He was supposed to start his car and then wasn't actually around because he was sleeping. Mathieu de Crop had to actually start that car. He did it to pretty good effect. He had a bit of a spin, dropped down to 11th at one point, but made his way nicely through the field once he actually got settled down and the race got settled down just a little bit. Yeah, they're currently in 9th place. They've had further issues down the line, but Roy de Munich looks very fast at the moment, trying to close on the slower of the two Team Rookie Monsters LMP2 cars.
Yeah, and he's doing a good job of it as well. 1 second quicker in that middle sector than Kashif Iftikhar. And then once he gets past, he's got 1 lap to close on to Alessandro Apolloni, which is possible, is doable. Roy de Monk currently down in P9. So if he can get up to P8, that would be an extra 4 points going the way of Roy de Monk. Of course, with the double point system that we have in place here at Le Mans.
Yeah, of course, and there is a championship that these guys are fighting for with the Team Rookie Monsters 37. So it's the 337 who is trying to pass at the moment, could maybe help out their teammates a little bit by keeping one move just behind them for now. But Tom Lombards is driving that 37 at the moment. He's bearing down on Idos Motorsport, another one of the championship contenders. So if Roy de Munich was able to get through and gain those points, he would get 8 points and 9 for finishing the race. But he's still quite a long way behind. He's 36 behind Rookie Monsters, so he needs to finish second or better, of course, if he wants even a shot at this title with Mathieu de Crop and their other drivers. Guillaume Mas has been driving that car a little bit earlier on as well. Maybe we'll see him later on.
Reminder to all teams, if you have the facility, please supply a video or a link for us to see the incident that you wish to report because of the broken replay system. Thank you.
So just a reminder from Nick Newcomb, the race director, that if you are going to make a report, try to provide a stream if teams are streaming, so that race control can gain easy access to the incident, as due to the recent patch that came out, it has apparently broken the replay system and everything runs at a very, very slow rate. It is about 5 times slower than normal speed, to be honest.
Well, it's always been a problem, really, with long races, big circuits, downloading the replays, as Cam was alluding to hours ago now, about 5 hours ago. He was saying that it's always been an issue, especially the guys at tracks, like Le Mans, like the Nordschleife that we have been to this year with GTR 24. The replays just... There's so much data, and it's so big and so heavy on everything, really, that you just can't download it all at the same time, especially for a 24-hour race, which is what we have here, of course. So that's why they can't really rewind and look at things like we would in the sprint series, for example, or even in a shorter endurance race. Yeah, either way, if you can provide a video link with the incident that or that you're reporting, then it is an awful lot easier for race control to dig through it and find out, actually get to the bottom of what happened.
Yeah, also just to give some updates on what's going on in the GTE class. David Greco has come into the pits, and he is actually 170 seconds now behind Adam Baldwin. Before the previous stop, he was 180 seconds behind, so he's been able to close in by about 10 seconds, and now maybe with some fresh tyres, he can close in that gap a little bit more.
Yeah, quite possibly, and that's always a possibility, of course. As we're looking at this battle in LMP2 at the moment between Roy de Munich and not David Nichols, sorry, the other Team Rookie Monsters car, which I'm not going to try and pronounce at this time in the morning. But Tom Lombards is closing into the Sim Sport, World of Sim Racing, Deuces Motorsport Club are both battling away, 17 seconds apart at the moment in the lead of GTE, and a little bit down the order in GT3 for 36th overall and 8th in the GT3 category. The other Team Rookie Monsters car and Teleforingen are battling over that position there. So there is lots of stuff going on all over the circuit in all of the classes at the moment.
Okay, I've just been informed as well that in the next 3 hours, would you like to guess the percentage chance of rain, Ewan?
Pretty much 100%, pretty much certain. I don't know.
You're wrong. It's not 100%.
Well, it was almost remember on Thursday when we were saying it was going to be absolutely certain?
Yeah.
We look very stupid now, but yeah, it's the threat of rain is dying down by the minute, it seems, at the moment from the forecasts.
Okay, so the chance of rain in the next 3 hours, Ewan, is 210%.
210? Oh my word!
I think the weather system is worse at maths than me.
Yeah, it might well be actually. I never thought I'd be able to say that, but yes, I think it is at this point.
Aren't you glad you have me to do maths now, Ewan?
Well, I can't believe you've got. I can't remember what it is, degree in maths or something, but the math skills are really lacking. Fortunately, weather is a little bit less to do with maths, and that's 210%. That's more than I don't even know what to call that. Inevitable doesn't really do it, does it? At 210%.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost double the chance of the Mercedes winning a race in Formula One, right?
Yeah, winning tomorrow. Yeah, that was the. Yeah, you're absolutely right on that one. But yeah, hopefully we do see rain in the next few hours. I would like a bit of rain, a bit of spice to add into this race. I'd like a sudden, huge downpour actually, just to make sure everyone's skating all over the place and diving for the pit lane ASAP. I think that will be very interesting, but I don't think the drivers will be holding out hope for that.
We can see the weather forecast on the bottom left of the screen, and I think that shows the next 2 hours, I want to say. Okay,
Wow.
so that's the most recent image of...
So that's what it is now?
Yes, so...
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we're not getting any... Well, it depends where the wind blows. If it wants to blow eastwards, then we're going to get some. And if it continues blowing northeast, we probably won't get any.
It's been travelling in the eastern direction for the whole of this race, so if you remember, Alex was telling us about which direction the rain was actually heading, and it was going towards the circuit it was going quite slowly towards the circuit, but it was making its way there, and it looks like finally it's gotten around to starting to rain on the kind of Brittany region in the northwest of France, but now it's slowly moving towards Le Mans, and then inevitably the rest of France on the eastern side as well probably, but either way that doesn't really matter. We're only focused about Le Mans, and that is a severe rainstorm that you can see on that weather forecast. It was really quite colourful, which is, if you don't like rain, then it's not a particularly good thing. Colourful weather map.
Well, I mean, if anyone lives in France and they have, I'd say, an aeroplane, helicopter, hot air balloon, if they could go up into the sky and maybe just casually blow at the clouds so it comes a little bit quicker, that would be fantastic. Also, just to give a quick update, Roy de Munch is closing in by a second lap onto Kashif Iftikhar in that 337 Team Rookie Monsters car, but also David Greco is going very fast. He's gone purple in the middle sector, and he is really closing in onto Jordi San Andres. The gap is now 149 seconds between the two of them.
Yeah, it's quite a big gap at the moment. but it's closing, and David Greco is going very quickly indeed. He was telling us earlier on in the YouTube chat to stop talking about him, really, and his car, because we were bound to curse him at some point. Unfortunately, it seems
That's
that you might have done
not
that.
me.
Well, I didn't do anything. I did curse AC Motorsport earlier on, AC Sim Motorsport, sorry. Calvert Reinhardt is in the car at the moment, but it wasn't him at the time. I was saying what a great recovery they'd made, and how fantastic it was that they actually stayed in the race to try and recover whatever they could from this race. And immediately as I said that, they spun at the Mulsanne corner. Yeah, I'm afraid I'll keep quiet about most of these teams for now. But it seems that actually being a leader in GT3 is actually not a good thing, because we've seen 3 leaders in GT3 have problems now, and the 45 is back to the lead. Maybe a second problem is on the horizon for them, given that they're in the lead again.
Yeah, maybe it is. Oh, I certainly hope not. Also, Alvaro Incausti just did a 406.1, which means that he has come into the pits. Nico Barkley still going very quickly with a 56.4. Tom Kapusta doing a 56.9. And actually, okay, never mind. For a second I thought, how did Tom Kapusta get ahead of Daniela Primavera? But they are in separate classes, which always seems to catch me out. But going back to your point about, well, actually going back to this GTE battle, David Greco is really, really closing in. And like, sure, it's 150 seconds, but remember that was about 170 seconds, you know, a couple of hours ago. So it's good inroads that David Greco is making. And actually, Roy de Monk as well, he's now within 5 seconds of Kashif Iftikhar, and you can almost see him with our onboard view from Roy's perspective.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult to see in front at the moment because of the darkness that is descended upon the Le Mans circuit at the moment. But you can definitely get a view now of that car in front. Roy de Munich driving really, really well, actually. And not really like I've seen him before. He's very consistent, driving very quick actually as well. Managed to take pole at the Nürburgring. But obviously didn't actually do the race because he was sleeping. But he took pole and the win again at Matsusaka. Doesn't look like that's going to happen again for them today, because it looks like it's a 2-horse race at the moment between Burst Edge Esport and Idos Motorsport. They're actually battling for 5th overall. They're not battling on track, you understand, but they are for 5th overall. And I'm afraid Enzo Fazzi has lost quite a lot of time in this stint already. He lost 13 seconds on that last lap. There must have been a mistake for him at some point along the way.
Enzo Fazzi actually came into the pits on that last lap. And the weird thing is Enzo Fazzi actually made his pit stop after Michi Hoyer, if I recall correctly. So maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty surprised that it's actually Enzo Fazzi who's into the pits before Michi here.
I am not so surprised, I don't think. No, I think if they're still running to the same strategy they were before I left a few hours ago, then I think they'll be coming in on the next lap, not this lap coming up, but the next lap. So I think that is still correct if they are on the same strategy, but that is a big caveat really, because so much has happened in this race. There's so many chances for you to change your strategy, and they might have just decided to, but I believe that Michi Hoyerist is going to come in once again on the 10 laps. He's about the only LMP2 car still actually on that every 10 lap strategy. Pretty much every other LMP2 car has had to change their strategy at some point, apart from Burst Edge Esport, and you wouldn't really expect anything less from them.
Yeah, and Burst Edge Esports are into the pits right just as you predicted, Ewan. And I think on that note, actually, no, never mind. I was about to say let's head to a break, but we've still got another 6 minutes before that happens. How's Mr. Roy de Monk doing? He is closing in 3.7 seconds behind Kashif Iftikhar, so we might be having something going on there. And of course, let's just check what that gap between Michi Hoyer and Enzo Fazzi is, because remember, it was only about 5 seconds about an hour ago, and then, well, something happened to Enzo Fazzi, because after his pit stop he lost almost a minute to Michi in the process.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely sure what happened there. It can't be a driver change thing, because there is no disadvantage for changing your driver in GTR 24H.
It could be a tyre change, potentially.
Not a minute.
Not a minute, true.
There could be a tyre change involved, but also, A, not a minute, and B, he's not gaining anywhere near enough. If he did do one of those, then he's going to have to. He's going to be a little bit disappointed with how this stint is going, and it's not really going to work out for him because he's not gaining nearly enough time. And you'd expect him to really. Enzo Fassi is a very experienced R2 driver. He's been around for quite some time now. Not the most blisteringly quick drivers. Not one of those you'd outline in the qualifying session to really decimate a field of top-class drivers, but you would expect him to be a safe pair of hands throughout a stint length like we have here in an endurance race.
Yeah, maybe I think the only thing that really can kind of match that kind of time would be a drive-through penalty and a stop-go penalty at that. So 30 seconds plus, you know, the kind of 25 seconds it takes to do that drive-through penalty would kind of be hitting the right ballpark. So maybe there was a drive-through for Idos Motorsport. Maybe race control can confirm what happened, or maybe it was just a standard mistake from Enzo Fassi at some point during the lap, because Michi Hoyer is out of the pits, and well, we'll see what the gap is between the two of them once Enzo Fassi crosses that sector 1 point, which will be in probably under a minute, I would assume.
Yeah, now just before we get to the next hour and the next commercial break, we have Simon Marshall in the green room, by the way, so we'll get him dragged up here for Team Rookie Monsters, and we'll have a little bit of a chat. Simon Marshall, one of the Team Rookie Monsters team members, drivers, and probably strategizing at some point throughout this race as well. How are things going down in the Team Rookie Monsters camp?
A little bit disappointed, but you know, we're still in with a shot of championship, so you've got to look at the silver lining that's in every cloud.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you're mainly attached to the GT3 car. You've got cars splattered all over this entry list at the moment. I think there's about 4 of them running out there, 3 or 4 at the moment. But you're focused on the GT3 category, of course, the 999, currently running down in the lower parts of the top 10. Just tell us what kind of issues you've had so far in this race, because you were having a very competitive run earlier on, but things have clearly not gone quite as well as you'd like at some point throughout this race.
Yeah, I think we were kind of up on like P3, P4, just based on pace. I think with other people's issues that got us up to about second at one point. But then I think we blew an engine, and that obviously made us leave the server and dropped us down to about 13th, I think it was, or 11th, thereabouts. So we're just trying to climb our way up from there, really.
Yeah, it's a long road back to recovery from there, and the darkness is now falling. So just to talk us through what it's really like out there as a GT3 car. You've got all of the cars passing you out there on the circuit. It must be a little bit scary, I guess, at some points to contend with all the traffic and everything that's going on a very busy racetrack at the moment.
Yeah, the night time, it's like a different track. You get disorientated really quickly. Incidents happen at the night. We always say this, that you know, you get the fast drivers in during the day. I'm one of the more consistent slower drivers, so I'm always in the night stint. But you can even come up to a corner and you think, well, there's a corner coming up, which one is it? And you just totally forgotten, and you really have to focus.
Yeah, it certainly requires a higher level of focus. And just one final thing before we let you go, back to your team down there, the Team Rookie Monsters, unless Yousuf has any questions for you. When are you going to be getting next into the car?
Well, Bart's smashing out some pretty quick times at the moment, so I'll be going in after him, I think. We're kind of double stinting. We're short fueling, double stinting tyres. And so once he's done his double stint, it works out to about 20 laps on average or thereabouts. So once he's done his 20 laps, then I'll head back in and do my 20 laps and try and undo all his good work.
I hope that isn't the case, but either way, Simon Marshall, thanks very much for talking to us, and good luck for your stint in a few moments' time.
Thank you very much.
There you have it, Simon Marshall from Team Rookie Monsters in the GT3 category. Good to hear from the drivers about what it is actually like out there at the moment. Good to get a real view on what actually went wrong for them, because we couldn't get to the bottom of it at all.
Yeah, and right, Ewan, we have a decision to make. Do we throw to a break now, or do we watch and wait for the overtake between Roy de Monk and Kashif Iftikhar and then throw to a break?
I think, to be honest, the pass is imminent, so we might as well wait for it and then go for it afterwards, because it definitely looks like a bit of a... Whoa, that was a very big moment for Roy de Munich, and he's actually been given a little bit of room, and now this pass definitely looks like it's coming in the next few moments, maybe even towards the Porsche curves, which is coming up right now.
Well, through Arnage, there you go. Roy de Monk doesn't get the best of exit. He tried to go around the outside of Indianapolis, but just had a bit of a moment and couldn't quite get onto the brakes properly. But as we head down into the Porsche curves, Roy de Monk tucks right in behind Kashif Iftikhar. Into the Porsche curves we go, and Roy de Monk is just that little bit too far back. Maybe if he can get a good run, he can have a look down into the Dunlop chicane at the start of the next lap.
Yeah, quite possibly. I thought he was going to give it a much more of a good go through there, but obviously not quite got the exit from Arnage that he wanted, and now he's going to have to wait just a little bit. Just maybe a little bit rattled by that mistake going into Indianapolis, a really difficult kink on the circuit, and he goes into the pit lane. So that seems a little bit, it seems like only last minute that he was into the pit lane, but maybe that was someone else. So lap 205 complete for Roy de Munich now, and he is into the pit lane. So kind of spoils that battle ever so slightly, but makes sense from a strategy point of view.
It does indeed, and on that note, we're going to be throwing into a quick break. When we come back, you're going to have Oshin taking over from me for your night stint. And of course, you and O'Leary will still be here as well. So from me, I'll see you guys in the morning. But of course, the rest of the team will be here to guide you through the rest of the night here at the GTR 24 Hours. Don't go anywhere.